Welcome to the Sexy and Sacred Show with Sage and Steve, where sexuality, sensuality, and spirituality meet to help you create a blissful relationship that enhances your spiritual path and raises your love vibration for personal and planetary transformation.
Hey everybody, Sage here with Steve, and we have been talking quite a bit about anal pleasures. And Steve has some really cool suggestions that are sexy and practical. And we were just laughing before we hit record because he is kind of a bit of an ass master.
I am the ass master.
He's definitely an ass man. Fortunately, I'm blessed in that department. And I was just thinking we need a poem because, you know, we almost always do a poem. So how does this strike your fancy? Butts, butts, glorious butts. She loves the way he stands and struts. Ass, ass, glorious ass. He loves her curves and spanks that sass. Woo! So that's our little intro, and we are getting very spicy very quickly here. So let's turn it over to Ass Master Steve Hibbs.
Way back when I was a youngster, and I had a woman that soon became my wife. Soon, like 7 years after that.
Eventually.
It wasn't exactly soon. It was like a long eventuality after that.
Yeah.
And I remember one time we were at my parents' house, and we were in front of the fireplace. The parents had gone to bed a long time ago. And she told me, get up on my hands and knees. And she gave me my first experience of anal pleasure. And I was pretty shocked and at the same time excited. So here I am. She says, get up on your hands and knees.
A little dominatrixy. Woo!
Yeah. So I'm like,
get ready to receive it, baby.
What's going on? And she says, just do it. So I get up on my hands and knees, and I'm naked. We both had been cuddling under a blanket on top of I think it was a fur or something.
We've got the scenes.
Very sexy in front of the fireplace. It's very nice, very sexy.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets behind me as I'm on my hands and knees, and gets on her hands and knees, and then starts rubbing her tongue underneath my balls and reaching around and gently touching my cock. And it woke me up to like extremely excited. And next thing I know, she had her tongue tickling my ass. And I've never had anything like that done at that point in my life. And it started to feel very good very quickly. And she kept doing that. And I know she had a boyfriend previously. Keep in mind, we're like 20 years old. I'm 21 and she's 20.
Wow.
So we're very young.
Spring chicken,
so,
for sure.
But she had learned this from someone, and it's kind of stuck with me.
Yeah.
Because it's something I didn't even imagine.
Like existed. I didn't even know analingus. It's called analingus. I didn't even know analingus existed until actually like a year ago.
Wow. Okay.
And I'm in my late 50s.
Wow.
So it's not a thing that a lot of people talk about.
Yeah.
And in fact, when you talked about let's do a show about anal sex, you know, I was mostly thinking about people penetrating. Well, one person is a penetrating partner and the other is the receptive partner. And this doesn't matter what gender they are or what sexual orientation they are, right? We all have a hole there. That might be different ways to explore that, but I really, the tongue thing was totally new to me. Obviously it was new to you at age 20, it was new to me at age 57.
Yeah. So in this case, the area of the perineum on a man is typically very sensitive. The anal area varies with men, and it also varies with the amount of teasing and tormenting one has had beforehand. So I notice, in my case, she basically was taking her tongue and bringing it between my balls, gently licking on my balls and going down to the perineum and going up and putting her lips and tongue around my ass and kind of poking it in my ass just a little bit and then teasing up and down. And it very quickly made me really, really excited. And I noticed that I had this stair step effect where every time she'd go back to my balls and lick my balls and then go my perineum and back to my ass, each area would be a little bit more excited each time. And she probably did that for a good 45 minutes.
Wow.
And I was literally, my legs were shaking.
You're
and
putty.
I was...
You were just pure putty.
Just completely out of my mind
Yeah.
with excitement. And then she reached up and started stroking me. So she was stroking my cock slowly as she was teasing my ass and back to my balls again. And she kept doing that. And I think when I finally came, she was actually licking my balls and my perineum just up and down, slowly up and down and lightly, gently. And I remember coming so hard and so much that I heard the sizzling in the fireplace, and I actually squirted all the way to the back of the fireplace.
That's hilarious.
I almost put the damn fire out. It came so hard and so much. It was unbelievable.
Oh, I'm thinking of some very hot firemen right now. Like, yeah, okay.
So anyway, that was my first experience, and I feel very, very blessed to have been introduced in that manner because when it comes down to sexual play, especially with women, I have heard many times before, oh, I've tried that. No, I don't. That's just, I'm not into pain.
I think you mean now a woman receiving anal penetrative sex.
Right. So that's a woman's first experience. Oftentimes is with a man, wanting to penetrate her and to do that. And to be honest, a lot of men, probably even vaginal sex, don't give enough foreplay and teasing and licking and gentle stimulation.
And lube too.
And it takes a long time for either one, but anal especially. For me personally, because I like receiving a certain amount of anal myself, although the oral analingus for me, and not everything for me, it's either way. If I'm going to be giving or receiving, it's got to be extremely clean. Ideally doing a douche
enema.
There you go. Doing an enema first is ideal.
Douche.
A tush douche. Douche. Right. So
they should call that tush douche. Someone should do that and then pay us for the name for that. That's our name that we came up with. Tush douche.
So in any case, for either partner, clean is important. And if you're going to introduce somebody to something like that, you better be sure and be like, soap if you're a man going to do it with a woman, take her in the shower and, play with her and do a little soap and, run your finger over her little ass and maybe in just a little bit and see how she responds to that, and mostly just soap here and there, but being careful because if a woman has soap inside of her vagina, depending on the soap, but generally speaking, that's not the greatest idea.
It also throws off the pH balance. It can throw off the
pH balance.
Yeah.
So it's better just to use plain water in terms of doing that.
Same thing for douching, by the way, ladies.
Yes.
Douching the vagina is generally not a good idea.
No.
So a lot of companies will try to convince us that our smells are bad. And, so if you're just cleaning nicely with water or you use a little coconut oil, which is antibacterial and antiviral and antifungal and anti all the bad stuff, you're probably going to have a perfectly nice scented snatch. But the douching throws off the balance there and all that stuff.
Can end up having
the butt is another story though. The tush, if you do a douche properly, occasionally you don't want to overdo that either. But if you're doing the anal once in a while and you do that, that might make both of you feel more comfortable. Also, if you did a bowel movement before, like if you kind of know your rhythm, right? Like if you're like a person that I always poop after breakfast or after my coffee, and then I also poop, X time of day, or you know what I mean? Like know what your rhythm is. And if you let that stuff out and you're like, okay, there's no activity in there right now, nothing is even thinking about doing anything. And then you shampoo, or just wash in the shower.
And then a good half an hour anyway after, like if you're going to do, like if you did an enema, you want to wait a good half hour or so afterwards to get everything to kind of relax and kind of come back to normal again. It's important because you can end up, it can be uncomfortable. So anyway, that's the best bet in terms of that. So as far as a play with a woman, as far as being anal intercourse is concerned, the oral is kind of as described. The one thing that I have heard from women in the past, there are some women that if you're doing analingus with them, in some cases it can cause a infection if you then go to a woman's vagina.
I was actually thinking the same exact thing. So it's actually very important to assume that could happen. So if you have a plan, whether you're male or female, and you want to do both cunnilingus and analingus on your woman, do the cunnilingus first.
A whole lot of it first.
Yeah, you can lick that sweet, lovely pussy as much as you both are happy with, and then go to the other hole, but don't go back.
Right.
Back and forth.
And the key is then if you get into the analingus at that point, then you can use your fingers for the vagina after that.
And the clit.
Tease your clit, tease your vagina, have a finger inside, and a tongue tickling.
And likewise,
around
don't
ass.
put a finger in the butt and then put a finger in the vag. So the butt is always the last stage, and then you don't go back to the vag.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Precisely.
Yes.
And everybody's chemistry is different. I mean, I remember being with one partner who happened to really enjoy anal a lot, and she wanted to have, oral sex and analingus and back and forth, and she just had everything all over and over and over. And for her, it never seemed to cause a problem with her. And then she liked anal penetration more than she liked vaginal. For her, the mental idea of it, of being up on her hands and knees with a man behind her, especially reaching around and teasing her clit at the same time.
Yeah.
She would have
it turned her on big time.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10 orgasms like that with anal penetration. But it means a lot of working up to it and a lot of teasing and getting to the point to where usually she'd have at least 1 or 2 or 3 at least one clitoral orgasms first. And that's one thing that I learned for myself, and I have seen that with women who have told me, believe me, it's not like I've done all kinds of women anal like this. There's been a few, but there was one in particular that when we got involved in this, I tried after her oral and having my cock inside her vagina, but she hadn't come yet. But she said, let's try this with my ass. We talked about it, and she was turned on by the idea. So we got some lube out, and I started to slowly, very, very slowly go inside her. And that's for guys, if you're doing this with a woman, you don't want to go, okay, it seems fine, I'll just go for it now. It's like, no. You want to barely tease, barely just get the head of your penis just starting to go inside. Pay attention to how she feels. Check in with her, ask her, how does that feel? Is that okay? And then, tease her clit and play with her and let her get used to the idea and get relaxed to it. The key, though, that I have found is once a woman has had, and especially a good strong orgasm, everything kind of
more
relaxes after that. So, in her case, once she had an orgasm, I had the tip of my cock just barely inside, not really even penetrating the sphincter, just at the very opening. And I was teasing her with my fingers, and she had a pretty hard orgasm. And then all of a sudden, her sphincter loosened way up, and I was able to slowly start penetrating again. And she was really, really excited. And then I kept teasing her clit. And then I was able to go inside real slowly. And then I just let her kind of tell me what to feel her pushing against me
Let her
and moving
guide it.
against me, let her guide it. And it finally got to a point to where she came that way. At least once. I don't remember now, but I know she came at least once. And for me, what I had found is it was exciting enough to where I came fairly quickly. But in many cases, for a man, it doesn't take that much because it's pretty firm.
Well, it's very tight. Yeah,
very
it's
tight
tighter than a vagina, isn't it, in most
come.
cases?
Yeah.
Especially the outer part.
Right.
Yeah.
So it generally is. But in some cases, especially if a woman's come numerous times, it may relax enough to a point to where there's not all that much friction. And depending on you or your partner, you may be conscious that, okay, you might be going to the point to where you're going to rub her raw before you can come. So I've had a couple times where I just like,
It stopped.
I know it's getting to a point to where I don't want to cause a problem down the road. I don't want to say, I don't want to do that again because it ended up hurting me before you could come.
Yeah.
So what I have done in a couple of cases is I just stopped and then
Finished by hand,
kissed her and then went and cleaned myself up and brought a nice warm washcloth and wiped her off real good.
Excellent example, ladies and gentlemen, of aftercare. Which we're going to be talking to you more about because you've been asking us for more about foreplay and aftercare and how important that is, and emotionally how important that is too.
Exactly.
When your partner shows you, like, just because we're done with the active stimulation portion of the show, does not mean that the sex is over or that the loving and the cuddling has to be over. So, that loving care of getting that warm washcloth and just, being open to what does your partner want now? Like, do they want to sleep? Do they want to kiss? Do they want to talk? Do they want some massage? Or, having those kind of conversations and just being available for that and not rushing. And that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing about all of your partners with that.
And one thing, because being with you, the aftercare, because we love each other so deeply and we have such this wonderful heart connection, is so profound and so meaningful for me. It just about brings me to tears. In fact, I'm tearing up now just thinking about it, because I've never had a partner who loved me enough to be really like, okay, where are you at with that? And for example, if we get into oral sex, if I have a good hard orgasm with her pleasuring me, which is absolutely one of my favorite things in the world, that she will keep me in her mouth and energetically still be connected with me. Most women have a habit of like, oh God, I got this stuff in my mouth, I got to go get it out. And then as soon as you come, they run off to the bathroom, and then you're lying there still feeling energetically,
throbbing,
you're disconnected,
pulsing.
you're throbbing, you're still coming even if you're not ejaculating, and then your partner is gone energetically and emotionally, and you're disconnected, and it's a very, it's kind of a bad feeling. And I've had that most of my life. So you are the first person that I can say that has done that to some degree. I've had it, but you take it to like, are you done? And you can feel it energetically.
Completely holding space with you until you feel complete for the next thing, whatever the next thing is.
So a lot of it is, it's the energetic connection, and that's when you have a soulmate, to have someone that has this deep heart connection. You can feel each other, and that's, to me, that's another episode we can get into as far as the energetic aspect of it.
Yeah, we have a lot more to share.
Did you have something else you wanted to say about the aftercare portion?
No, I think that's good for now. And, one thing I think that's a great takeaway from all of this is communication. And sometimes with the right partner, you may find that you're open and willing to try something that either you've never done before, or you've done before X number of years ago with a different person, perhaps, that didn't go so well. And anal is one of those things, whether it's penetration or analingus, whether it's giving or receiving. And so that's 4 different things to consider.
So
with
many
your
people's
partner.
experiences have been based on it not being done right, and they have no perception of it being done right because they have no experience of that.
Yeah.
So it's all I can say is it can be incredible, and there is a connection between the anal and the vagina. That skin is very skin in between.
There's a lot of nerve endings in there,
depending on the position, you can experiment with different positions. But once the sensations start to really get there, it's not uncommon for a woman to have orgasms that way. But it's all a matter of your preference. It's a matter of, like you said, communication and being willing to share and be open with your partner enough that you're willing to try different things and communicate about, I'd really like to do this, or can we try, and once you have that degree of trust with your partner, that's the most critical.
We keep doing this.
I know, but that's the most critical factor of this is you have to get where you have a deep heart connection. Right. And you have to have trust. For some people, anal can be like a control thing. And the woman likes, I want you to fuck me in the ass. Or even a man, I want you to put a strap on and do it.
Exactly. A woman fucks you in the ass.
In either case, that's something that can be and typically is painful unless you've really worked up to it. So even if you're playing that emotional part of it, that can be really sexy and really exciting. I mean, you can get into blindfolds and on.
Mutual.
But it has to be mutual.
We're going to talk more about B&D kind of stuff and other kink for sure. We definitely have so much more to share with all of you. Exactly. I think a couple of other things I wanted to share about this just come to mind. Trust, you just said that, how important that is. Communication, being clear about what your boundaries are. I mentioned on a previous show having kind of a green list, a yellow list, and a red list of these are the activities, sexually speaking, that I love. I almost always am in the mood for this, and I love when my partner does these things, blah, blah, blah. And tell your partner that. If you want to be organized and structured about it, which I tend to be, because I used to be in engineering and mathematics, so I'm I'm a list person. Yep. I might actually have a list and actually
let me get out my clipboard and we'll see what's on the list.
These are all my green activities, so please feel free to liberally choose from column A, just weave them into our sexual repertoire, however you like. And then there might be some yellows that I'm sometimes I'm in the mood for that, or maybe I might be in the mood for that. I've never tried it, but I'm open to considering it. But you always kind of need to ask me first or check in with me on it. And then your red things would be no, don't even think about it. I personally don't ever want to be hung from the ceiling from my ankles, nor am I into blood, or poop being spread all over the place. So, those are things that are my no-fly zone, right? I'm no, thank you, not going to happen. Animals, also, no. People underage,
not bringing the horse into the bedroom,
happen.
sorry.
Those things are not going to happen, But you need to know, what your red zone is in your partners also. So having those conversations on an ongoing basis is important. Knowing yourself, also knowing what your partner wants and needs and doesn't want or need. And keeping in mind that it could change over time. So don't be so rigid that you're oh, well, I never do X. Well, maybe you never did X before, but maybe
you never had the right
maybe you weren't with the partner who A, loves that, and B, is willing to do it in a way that really respects your boundaries, that really treasures you and moves at a pace and with the appropriate supplies, whatever's needed, lube, toys,
and you might not have had, you might have had the visual stimulation and you were excited about each other's bodies, but you may have not had the energetic connection.
And the communication and the trust and the emotional connections, so it might be different. And then the last thought I was going to say is when I have enjoyed anal stimulation, receiving it, it's almost always when I'm also receiving clitoral.
I'm sitting here taking notes. Oh, okay.
He was what are you doing? He's writing on his palm of his hand, taking notes. Okay, make sure the clit is getting stimulated. So if because what happens is, for me, there's this sort of blended, like, happy space that's going on down there. That's like everybody's happy. Like the clit is going, ooh, and then maybe something's going on inside the vagina where there might be a finger, or a toy or, whatever. And then something's happening down at the anal area. But it's kind of like enough, it's diffused enough that like my whole body's just kind of going, ooh, it's like an intriguing mystery of experiences and sensations down here.
Well, the sensations expand. It's like with a man, it starts with like the penis or the tip of the penis, and then the balls get more extended, and then the perineum, and then it keeps spreading. And pretty soon from the tip of the penis, in my case, sometimes all the way down to the tips of my toes.
Yeah.
It can just the whole area, like up and down the backs of my legs, everything.
Love it.
It's just amazing. But if somebody tries to, put a finger inside of me when I've just started sucking on me, for example, and do that, it's like, nah, I'm not ready for that.
Exactly.
It takes a long time. It might take half an hour to get to that point for me. So keep that in mind.
And the other thing with a man, too, do you want to speak at all, honey, about the prostate and the stimulation in the anus? Because anatomically speaking, there's like a certain angling, just like for a female for the G-spot,
right,
where it's kind of like going up, like if you're facing your partner, going up and up toward the surface.
Yeah,
and
it's
forward.
kind of testicles
like
are inside, at that wall.
Yeah.
And depending, some women, in my case, my prostate's a bit enlarged at this point in my life, and so it's kind of hard. You can't really miss it. And
but
by
that
the
wouldn't
way,
be the case if you were 30. So
typically not.
You have to sort of explore with your finger. Maybe start with a finger before you move up to a toy or a cock or something.
Just being aware that's where it is. It's kind of up behind where the balls are, towards the front wall. That's where the perineum, or where the prostate is,
which can be very stimulating and very erotic.
By the way, I have been told by my doctor, because I was asking about prostate stimulation because I was having some digestive issues and whatnot, which were inflaming my prostate. And he said, if your prostate is inflamed, you should not be doing anal penetration.
Okay. So in some medical situations, it might be contraindicated.
Right. It might feel wonderful, but then you might
be overstimulated.
Not be able to, the prostate enough to where then urinating might become almost impossible for a while.
Oh yeah.
So that can be an issue.
Check with your, medical, with your own health, and listen to your own body intuitively. So that's our message for you guys today, and we'd love to hear what stood out for you. And please remember to share the love.
And don't let it stand out in public. You could get arrested.
And no ifs, ands, and buts about it, but there are some buts about it. So what is it about butts? They're so curvilicious and grabbable. And I think Steve and I need to go now because we might have some other ideas.
Might have some other ideas to experiment with. Yeah, you never know.
You guys have a beautiful, sexy, and sacred day. We'll see you next time.
All right.
And remember to use safe sex practices when you're getting sexy and sacred. Thanks for being part of our growing community at the Sexy and Sacred Show. Please share the love, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and catch us next time at your favorite podcast platform. Until then, remember, you are sexy and you are sacred.